coming on to the next part of the today's program. So the speaker of the day of the forenoon session, first speaker is Professor Parikshit Singh Manhas. He is the rector of the University of Jammu. Dr. Parikshit Singh Manhas is the professor, Faculty of Business Studies at Udhampur campus, University of Jammu. He is also coordinator of Global Understanding course at the University of Jammu, being run in collaboration with East Carolina University, USA, and coordinator UTC Innovative Program. He is also the promoter, director, University of Jammu Special Purpose Vehicle Foundation, a Section 8 company, Director, Business Incubation and Innovation Center, University of Jammu, and President, Institution Innovation Council, University of Jammu, Ministry of HRD, Government of India. He was also Director, School of Hospitality and Tourism Management from 1st of August 2013 to 11th of February 2020. Presently, he is the member, Task Force for Implementation of National Education Policy 2020, Government of Jammu and Kashmir, and co-leader, Organizing Committee of UNWTO, Affiliate Members Working Group on Tourism and Culture Synergies. He is also the Regional Director, Asia and Eastern Europe for CED, World Center of Excellence for Destinations, UNWTO Affiliate Member, President, Commerce Management Association of India, CMI, and advisor, Total Synergy Consulting Private Limited. He is also fellow of the Australia-India Institute, New Delhi. He was also member of the Tourism Advisory Board of the state of Jammu and Kashmir, which was headed by the Honorable Chief Minister of State of Jammu and Kashmir. Presently, he is a visiting professor, Taylor's School of Hospitality, Tourism and Culinary Arts, Taylor's University, Malaysia, and Emirates Academy of Hospitality Management, EAHM, Dubai, United Arab Emirates. He has been a visiting professor to Zubanov State University of Akodbi, Republic of Kazakhstan, Baskir State University, Ufa, Bashkortostan, Russia, and Graduate School of Business, Asan University, Lima, Peru. Parikshit earned his PhD in brand positioning strategies from University of Jammu. He did his postmasters in electronic commerce and information science from Albert School of Business at Seattle University, USA, with a distinction, MBA from University of Jammu, India, and Masters in Tourism Management from IGNOU, New Delhi. He has been teaching internet marketing, brand management, destination management, and marketing management at both undergraduate and graduate level, and tourism research development to the PhD and other research students in the School of Hospitality and Tourism Management and the Business School, University of Jammu since 2001. His research interests are tourism, recreation and hospitality management, education and marketing, sustainable and responsible tourism, brand management, post-conflict tourism, and peace-building strategies, revival tourism. Also, film-induced tourism and destination marketing. Professor Parikshit was runners-up at the Institute of Hospitality Education Research Award 2016 at the Euro-Cherry Conference in Budapest 2016. He has been awarded major projects as the project leader under UK India Education and Research Initiative, otherwise called as UKRI, and he is the most distinguishing speaker of today. Actually, he was about to speak on art, culture, heritage, religious tourism, and creative opportunity in crisis. Today morning, he received urgent communication from the Vice Chancellor of the University of Jammu to fly over to Delhi for some UGC work. So being the rector, that is the next person to the Vice Chancellor, he had to leave and now he's in the flight. So he's not able to reach at this point of time. And maybe before we complete today's session, he will be joining us most probably. So we excuse the audience for this inconvenience. He will be joining later. Before that, the second speaker of today's forenoon session, Dr. Krishnan Gujari. He is well known for his excellence in writing projects and getting funds and support. Not only that, supporting his fellow academicians who work along with him. He is very well known in his field of expertise. And so let me introduce the second speaker. So first he will be speaking and later Parikshit Singh, Dr. Parikshit Singh Manhas sir will be joining either in the forenoon session or most probably in the afternoon session. So we request the audience to kindly bear with this gesture. Respected Krishnan Rangara sir, I welcome you to today's workshop. Sir has a MA MPhil in History and Archaeology and PhD in Tourism Management, and he has more than 35 years of experience in teaching as a lecturer, assistant professor, and professor. Research and Academic Administration in IITTM Gwalior and IHM Hyderabad, both under Ministry of Tourism, Government of India. In 2005, he moved to London, UK, and worked as lecturer in tourism, hospitality, and business management, and also as external moderator for NCFE UK up to June 2009. He did a few certificate courses in teachers training at the City of Guilds and in Harrow College, both in London, UK. He relocated to Hyderabad and started his freelance consultancy for ADB, Government of India, and Ministry of Tourism. He's teaching tourism, hospitality, management, and cultural heritage. He's an expert member in business and tourism management departments of various universities in India, and also has considerable experience as expert and consultant for tourism projects. He designed and conducted several short and long-term training programs for Government of Andhra Pradesh and for Government of India, including guides training programs at local and regional levels. He also published several research papers and authored the first tourism book. I stress upon the word first tourism textbook for Board of Intermediate Education, Andhra Pradesh in 2004. Sir, we welcome you to deliver your address. At the same time, I also would like to say, when we start hearing to him, we don't know how the clock runs on. The clock runs and we feel like still hearing to him. Sir, we welcome you to today's fun workshop. Please, sir, please take over the mic. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Prabhu Kumari. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Prabhu Kumari and Dr. Damodaran and other distinguished participants of this workshop. I'm really happy to be amongst all of you. And most importantly, I feel very much happy because after a very long time, that is after almost 2 or 3 years, that I'm speaking about heritage. Even though I had been teaching heritage actually for the last 40 years, but somehow this topic is not being discussed that much. And probably the importance of this subject is yet to draw upon us. And so therefore, I see all sorts of topics coming to me for discussion, and mostly for the last 1 year, it is only webinars and online discussions. I find them all related to modern tourism activities. And I'm really happy to be able to speak on something that is but I must warn you, once I become active and start speaking, I don't seem to know what the time limit is. So kindly do warn me whenever you want to close down or when you have had enough or when you want another speaker to take over or something like that. The fact is, this topic is so good. I always feel very fascinated to be able to communicate something and to share with fellow participants. Heritage is important that I don't need to emphasize over here. All of us know about it. But when we talk about heritage, again, there are different aspects of it. We have cultural heritage, we have natural heritage. I mean, humanity has been there since a very long time. And so whatever that has happened in the past and we have acquired that legacy, we would term that as heritage. But very strangely, the importance of heritage has dawned upon us from the last 100 years or so. And before that, we were dealing with heritage in a way, like if we want to know something about history, something about culture, something about what has happened in the past, we were dealing and we were trying to understand about the subject and so on. But the fact is that the cultural heritage, again, we can say, put it as tangible and intangible. If we call that tangible heritage, which is visible, obviously, intangible could be customs, traditions, behavior pattern, and so on, whatever that we could trace out. But the fact is, these aspects of heritage. Now, for today's discussion, I have wanted to speak about it's what's happening, what kind of discussions are taking place about heritage all over the world and in our own country. Uh, Besides that, I also wanted to speak about its socio-economic development through heritage promotion. On these points, I feel that I could share based upon my experience and learning, and request you definitely, as and when you feel like asking me something, feel free. So all of us would elaborate upon that particular doubt. And so, talking about heritage, there are so many aspects of this heritage. When we talk about this cultural heritage, what we see is It is being promoted and developed by various organizations at the international level as well as the national level. If we term at the national level Archaeological Survey of India, or if we term at the international level UNESCO, and all these organizations are meant for promoting, safeguarding heritage. But the problem here is when I talk about heritage um, uh, as a source for development for economics, economy, and other aspects, what we realize is this economic development of the humanity seems to be the biggest threat for protection of heritage. And the conservation of heritage is a very delicate and a very important task. Uh, because if by any chance or happens happening, the heritage gets affected or damaged, it's irreversible. The damage cannot be reversed. Like you have seen in the very recent times, when there was war in Afghanistan, that Bamia Buddhas, how they were destroyed. And we all feel very sorry about it. It is not just Afghanistan, but when you talk about, countries like Egypt, Greece, India, or Italy, all these countries, they have the most important asset, heritage. And when we talk about this heritage, their political happenings in these countries have definitely affected the heritage and its preservation or its conservation. In fact, I could give you several examples of how, like, if we find the important component of heritage visible in a museum where we go to visit to understand about a particular place or a particular theme. And when we watch them and when we try to understand them, if this is the basic component, then we have sights, then we have music, dances, and so many other aspects of this heritage. And because of this, what has happened was the importance has been realized. And so what you have, one important aspect of the heritage, that is UNESCO has classified what we call as World Heritage. So under this category, what they have done is basically this World Heritage or heritage preservation, all these components, what have come about is you see uh, that there is after say in the 20th century, there is a globalization, a very rapid globalization. See, in the initial times, when we have had just telephone and radio, we were thinking it's a great thing. Like we were able to hear and things were going on very slowly about what is happening elsewhere. And this suddenly you would see the technology has taken a rapid step forward. And what we see is we see telephones of different types, we see television, we see computer, and all these things have changed the way we view the world. Suddenly, the world has become accessible to almost all of us, and the kind of work, for example, in 1980s and all that, when we were typing our research papers, typing is a must. We were all the time busy about learning how to type and how to get it typed and so on. That used to take quite a long time. But now, children, I see that they are scrolling out pages after pages and books like on telephone. It is so easy. The technology seems to have gone so much. So because of this rapid technological development, industrialization, and globalization, what we see is there is a different scenario for cultural heritage, its conservation, or its interpretation. In fact, I can just sit down over here and view the heritage sites, not just in this country, in the state, all over the world. And I can also hear the recorded version of guiding of that particular site. I mean, things which are unimaginable. When I was teaching tourist guides in 2019 hundreds and so on, 1990 and so forth, we used to talk about it, and we should take them to the site, and then we should explain to them and physically, and we should tell them this is how it is done, this is how it's done, and this is how you should explain to the visitors, and this is how you must read the information and so on. But now you don't need to go to the library, you don't need to go to the site. You can simply show through, I mean, virtually, this is what the site is about, and this is this, and then you can just take them as a token measure to the site. Well, these are these are the ways in which the heritage is being viewed. But coming back to our mm, topic, cultural heritage and its role in economic and social development of the global world, what we see here is uh, the heritage as we see indifferently. For example, if I talk about the World Heritage Sites, which is supposed to be the uppermost distinction for uh, any heritage attraction, what we see is our country has 37 World Heritage Sites, or more of it, probably in the offing. And these sites, uh, this classification of these sites, and having a World Heritage Week in April and so every year, and promoting the heritage sites and heritage, what we see here is that is an attempt to ensure the heritage always stays in the limelight. Most importantly, people learn from the land, because whenever we see we always try to put our surname, we always try to put our Gotram and our so many factors through which we can maintain our identity. So the identity of the humans, if you wish to have, and if you wish to have some sort of understanding, then we always have to go backwards. And that backwards is basically maybe father, mother, grandparents, and great grandparents, and the community, and state, religion, and so on. And when these factors are understood and recorded, then a person comes to the stage where he can say, look, I belong to so and so category. And so our entire community is from this. This is the background of our this thing. So either matter of pride or scope for working hard, it always comes from the background study. And this background study is what we see in the cultural heritage. And most importantly, the creative and cultural industries, they are becoming the fast key components of modern economy. Their impact on development, both economic and non-economic, is very significant. And the prevalence of cultural sites, services, and art forms, you know, obviously they boost and they promote tourism. And most importantly, they sustain livelihood. And in some examples, which I am going to give you later, they actually attract investment. What kind of investment and how do they attract? We'll come to that. But the non-economic benefits of the culture or heritage includes, first, preservation of history, the generation of knowledge, which is a must for our identity, and the nurturing of creativity, like in the toy makers, heritage city towns, and so on, right? And so, therefore, we can appreciate when we talk about Ministry of Culture or UNESCO making an attempt, uh, they are actually promoting a component which offers us immense economic opportunities. And therefore, these are naturally found worthy for further development. And for such purpose, that World Heritage Week you are having, and it's being celebrated. And most importantly, we feel this number of heritage sites that we have all over the world and in the country will continue to grow. And each site actually can be termed as a potential hub for economic activity. Now you might say, what is there to be what is there to talk about economic activity when this isn't just ruins? I will show you that particular tomb, or I will show you this particular fort. It is just dilapidated condition. What kind of economic activity I can expect? Like tourism is just one aspect. It is not just tourism. Say, for example, country like Austria, which is in Europe, and its capital Vienna, we have almost every year millions of people visiting during one particular week. You know why they visit? It is because there they just play the music of the greatest music themes that have been brought about in 16th, 17th, 18th centuries. You understand? Not in the remote past, in the recent past, that is. And these music tunes they hear, and they meet, they discuss, and then they go back to their hometowns. See, this in the simple language, it is cultural tourism. But the fact is, because of these people coming every year, listening to the themes of the music, you have so much of infrastructure being built and so much of economy being generated. I mean, this has become a norm. It is not just for last 5 6 years or something. It is there for the last 70 80 years. This is happening. If this is one in Austria, coming to our own country, if we talk about India, and in a place where I have worked and which is my favorite place, I was there for 8 years in Gwalior. And in Gwalior, what I see is very strange that you would have heard the name of Tansen, the ancient musician of the medieval age, and he was so famous. Like that tomb, the huge structure that is there, they would call it as Tansen's tomb, but actually it is his own tomb is very humble and small. The bigger structure belongs to his teacher, the teacher who taught him the music, perhaps. Yeah. And then, so this place, every year, you have Tansen Music Festival. And that festival, it may not be attracting as many visitors and as much publicity as it is there in Vienna, but it is still happening almost every year. Not just that, there's another, a small building in Gwalior I have come across. It is, what do you call, it is having musical instruments of the Afghan origin. And Ustad Amjad Khan, if I remember correctly, is the person who has collected all these musical instruments and named the place as Sarotgar. And Sarotgar is a very humble establishment. And then there you can go and see the different types of music instruments, which help them coming out with that kind of tunes. But this is another aspect of that intangible heritage again. Likewise, you have at our own famous temple complex Khajuraho in Madhya Pradesh again, that is, you have Khajuraho Dance Festival, where celebrated dancers coming and performing to the national and international audience. It's a fabulous thing that takes place, initially promoted by the government of India Tourism, but now so many private players also have come into the picture. And what you come across is that this is becoming so, and I won't be surprised if after a few years these festivals they become very very famous. See, all these are related to something that has happened in the past, that has been compiled, conceived, and how do you say, made famous in the past. But now people are appreciating these. As we go on developing, improving, we look back and then we see, oh my God, this is something really good. We should have a look at it. The same way as we listen to old songs and perhaps old photographs we see. Likewise, this kind of history and culture and heritage, they happen to be very important for us. In fact, I would like to quote small statement that I have come across of our Minister for Culture, Dr. Mahesh Sharma, when he noted in some function a couple of years ago. He said the international recognition for heritage, if it is promoted properly, will boost the local economy. And he says it gives a tremendous fillip to domestic and international tourism, leads to employment generation, creation of world-class infrastructure, and augmentation of the sale of local handicrafts. So in this connection, I can give you just a few examples. For example, a long time ago, I used to take my students for a tour to, how do we say, um, Rajasthan. Particularly, I was very fond of this place, and for adventure activities to Himachal Pradesh. And whenever we went to Rajasthan, what I observed is that they seem to have lots and lots of heritage sites well preserved, and they're being used even to this day for promotion of their past, or rather for explaining about their past. So tourism is the byproduct. You would be surprised to know when government of India has announced that there will be no more kings and royalty in the country, what first thing happened was number of families belonging to these kings and queens of the past era, uh, they are left with lots and lots of buildings, and they're left with lots of treasure. But all these things, most of them have been nationalized. And when they have become nationalized, in Rajasthan, they seem to have a very good idea. Like what they did, they have declared most of these buildings, which are almost in the dilapidated conditions, for which they were not able to afford to repair and conserve them. So what they did, they declared them as a heritage hotels. Yeah, and they brought out a special category, heritage hotels. So what they did was that these buildings, they have let out to hotel organizations for running heritage hotels. Only pointer here is that they would run the way they operated in the past, in the erstwhile by the erstwhile dynasties or kings and queens. And I mean, at least a semblance of it. Lots of machinery is modern, of course. For example, if you go into the kitchen or if you go into the rooms, you would see lots of refrigerators and all these things which were not there earlier. But these things are meant for making people stay comfortably. And what they did was has become quite successful. It has become so successful. Like most of the visitors, especially coming from abroad, what they love to do is they love to stay in the heritage hotels rather than the five-star and deluxe hotels that they come across elsewhere. And because of the appeal that heritage has for the visitors. So it is become so famous. Then afterwards, you would see another innovation coming into the picture. That's called heritage train. You know, you have a train running from Delhi to different parts of the country where they would go about conducting the sightseeing tours at different places through different guides. And most importantly, the train will have the people serving in the traditional attire. It gives you a feeling, look, we are trying to live in the past, which is nothing but basically nostalgia common to most of the human beings. Especially if they can afford it, these kind of things are definitely happy, and they provide them quite a lot of pleasure. So uh, the governments and the international organizations, they realized very strongly that we must promote tourism and related economic activity. But my observation is they seem to lack sensitivity that is required for conservation of heritage. You know, you need certain kind of sensitivity. Like you can't go about constructing a huge walls and constructions right in front of a fort or a tomb, and which would cover the thing. For example, in Hyderabad, we have a place called Charminar, and Charminar, quite a lot of you are familiar with it. It's a symbolic of Hyderabad. But what we see is all around in that place, you would come across huge structures, flats, blocks of them coming up. And I'm afraid if this activity goes on unchecked, what happens is then people have to tell you and point out specifically, look, this is Charminar. And it would look so unimpressive because of the huge dominating structures all around it. Then the value of heritage is lost. Heritage means, it should be like standing in a way which is not dominated. It's like in a simple language, like I tell you, if supposing in a movie, you are going to the movie because that particular hero or heroine, they're quite good looking and they're having good dialogue delivery and so on and so forth, right? Supposing, remember, that heroine comes around to dance, and if she's having a group of accompanying dancers, most of them more beautiful than the heroine herself, then what would happen? Like, you would have problems. The same way heritage also will need to be presented in a standalone category, and at least for the respectable distance, that you should not have
Huh?
dominating structure. Then covering the main
కిచెన్
heritage
లో ఉంది
site,
ఆ
what
5
happens
kg
is
ఉంది.
that
వస్తాను ఏం లేదు ఇప్పుడు.
you would not be able to, how do you say, promote the heritage in a way you may like to promote. So most importantly, another factor that I would like to point out here is heritage sites and their surroundings. uh, it is advisable not to be damaged by excessive tourist traffic or the effects of local pollution, as it is reportedly happening to different kinds of monuments. I can give you the example. For example, in how do you say, in Greece, you have Acropolis, right? It is a most dominating piece of it's temple of Athens, basically, and the way it is getting spoiled because of the climate change and because of the heavy traffic that is around the place. Now they're calling UNESCO to provide them some sort of expert help as to how they can go about preserving it forever. Like, it, even though they have survived for so many centuries, but still it's very unrealistic to expect that place to survive for a very long time. And so we really don't know. And for this reason, we have to consider the fact that any heritage site is vulnerable to erosion and vulnerable to different factors. Like, for example, it might have some natural disasters, like it's happening in Andhra Pradesh, Visakhapatnam. Not just Visakhapatnam, the entire Andhra Pradesh. I don't know how these people are not understanding about it. The entire state of Andhra Pradesh, they are having such huge erosion on the coastal area, like kilometers and kilometers are running in and getting submerged into the water. I'm sure even that's happening in Orissa and Kerala, everywhere. But in Andhra Pradesh, I recently read that article which states, look, this is how it is getting eroded. So in this erosion, I know that Totlakunda are the Buddhist ruins that are there in Visakhapatnam. They're almost coming to the close to the salt water. And like this, if it is allowed to happen, after some time, that valuable heritage will be lost. And so, like this, I can go on giving you. But the fact is, number of you might ask me, look, what for we need to spend that much of money to protect a heritage monument or a heritage site? See, as of now, because of our lack of awareness and understanding of the heritage sites, probably its economic potential is not fully realized, or even social potential. Social means, what I'm trying to say is taking pride and understanding about the past, and acting upon that pride that is inculcated through our heritage. These things we are we need to, for example, Indian heritage consisting of Vedas or mythology and so on and so forth. Let me tell you, including myself, lots of us, we don't understand. Somehow, somewhere, we stopped studying about our past. And so we just recite it, and we see most of the priests in the temples, they recite these mantras. At least they were good enough to continue reciting and learning how to recite, and so on and so forth. And when you talk about different articles on these mantras and slokas and literature of ancient India, what you see is universities like Harvard and University of Westminster, they are doing research. What is the kind of research they are doing? They are claiming that if one learns how to recite these slokas and mantras at a very young age, their intellectual capacity gets built. I knew that learning a foreign language will sharpen your intellect, but I didn't know that these reciting of the slokas and reciting, reading the literature, ancient literature, will sharpen your intellect. I didn't know about it, but this is the recent findings of this thing. And so you see, the heritage is something that you can't say today that you would have this benefit, tomorrow you would have this much of benefit, 1500 crores, thousands of crores. No, no, it's not like that. It is some sort of intangible thing. The benefits cannot be assessed accurately, like how it influences the humanity and human society. So therefore, now what we understand is the heritage, immediately when we talk about heritages, it's tourism importance, its value as a tourist attraction, destination. So if I talk about Agra, if I talk about Khajuraho, if I talk about even natural heritage sites like Kanha and so on and so forth, you would see definitely lots of impact that is taking place. Even the forest departments also, when I was in Gwalior, I remember we used to conduct lots of training programs for these forest officials just to understand the basics of tourism. Why? Because we know on one side, tourism affects adversely the conservation of a particular heritage site, but it also helps become that site become self-sufficient, self-financing. And what happens is the economy gets built up so much. There are so many people. For example, if you go to Bharatpur, you have World Natural Heritage Site there, Bharatpur Bird Sanctuary. And this particular bird sanctuary is very small, not even 28 square kilometers. But the kind of birds it attracts, you would be surprised to know, once upon a time, this Raja of Bharatpur, actually, he planted all these things, only for one purpose, so that he can hunt those birds in large numbers. And so when they began hunting, initially, that later on it has become a conservation spot, and it has become a sanctuary. And these birds, when they come in such large numbers, visibility is so much, the very large number of visitors come. And if we go to see that place, we would be surprised to see so many restaurants, hotels, and the village people living on the tourism that is happening over there. And if that is one example, and a little bit further to it, but you have Taj Mahal, which I don't need to tell you about, and the whole of Agra, the kind of development that has taken place, and still it is happening, and the kind of festivals that take place in this monument, it's unbelievable. It may be just a tomb. I don't think the king of that era has in his mind thousands of people coming and seeing that place. No, it must be just to express his feelings for his wife. Probably he constructed that grave, and that has become a destination afterwards. Whatever it is, the sentiment in a particular site will lead to its success. And how it gets promoted into a great product, it depends upon the passage of time. It depends that particular team how it clicks with the people. And so therefore you would be surprised to see uh, the heritage sites, even intangible cultural heritage, actually they are the major drivers of sustainable development. Sustainable development means because of their protection, that entire area also goes for development with limited negative impacts. Otherwise, you may, for example, in Agra, you might see people starting different factories, and these factories will emit poisonous gases, and that will lead to real damage to the environment over there. But if you have a heritage site, what happens is they are advised not to start such industries which are highly polluting. So that entire area gets saved. And so this way, what happens is they are the major drivers for sustainable development. If that is so, you would be pleasantly surprised to know that UNESCO has an agenda by 2030, a very unique. It is uh, to have three dimensions of development, that is economic, social, and environmental, through promotion of heritage. So for this purpose, what it has done is UNESCO, it has brought out the concept of creative cities. And this network, in India, for example, we have places like Jaipur, Varanasi, and Chennai. They have been designated as creative cities. See, the benefits that they would have is they would play a central role for development of art, crafts, music, and they would that all these would lead to how do we collect the local development. For example, Jaipur's centuries-old legacy of crafts and folk art currently employs, I believe, 175,000 people. If it is so, it has generated a very vibrant ecosystem of heritage festivals and tourism. So, supposing if you go during February and during March and so on and so forth, you have lots and lots of festivals there. I remember one Tej festival, and I remember a couple of other festivals that take place. Now, likewise, if you go to Udaipur, you have a lake palace, basically a palace for the Maharajas earlier. But later on, now it has become, I know it has become a venue for film shooting even. And besides being a heritage hotel, it is leading to so much of economic development of the town Udaipur. So likewise, it in Varanasi, Chennai, historical musical traditions, yeah, have given birth to flourishing music industries and networks of music festivals and academies. See, this is a chain reaction, how it goes about one factor to another. So the efforts to promote intangible cultural heritage also has another benefit. By promoting it, what you have is it could directly empower women and other disadvantaged groups. For example, in Andhra Pradesh, you have a place called Kondapalli, and Kondapalli is famous for its fort and its toys.
Choice.
And this fort initially was politically significant. Later on, these artisans have come from somewhere and they began preparing the toys. And these toys have caught the eyes of people because of the color and because of the themes that they're having and so on. And most importantly, these toys now, they have become the most important handicrafts of the state of Andhra Pradesh. And besides, there are many handicrafts, of course. But people come to see actually these artisans preparing these crafts. Like that in Hyderabad also, nearby Hyderabad, you have different types of arts and crafts being prepared and done. And so among them, in Telangana, that you have Nirmal handicrafts or Nirmal paintings, yeah. And Pemberti is another place which is nearby Hyderabad. So like that, we can go on talking about different types of art forms that are flourishing because of the focus on heritage. It might be World Heritage Spot, or it might be a heritage festival, or it might be a protected monument, and so on. Actually speaking, we have yet to go very, very far, because you see, we have 37 World Heritage Sites, right? And imagine in UK, you have more than 60,000 heritage monuments protected, and they have so many hundreds of World Heritage Sites. And look at that awareness. Look at that development that is taking place. I don't know whether it comes through literacy or whether it comes through our interest or whether it comes through something else. But the fact is, we are just standing at the beginning stage. We have a way to go forward. And when we go forward, and when our heritage sites get promoted, and when we talk about Ajanta, Ellora, and so on and so forth, initially what they were, but later on you just see how they have developed. The entire city of Aurangabad, how it got promoted, and how they are going about now promoting Buddhist heritage tourism and Jains and so on and so forth. I mean, these things. I mean, I can go on talking about like this varieties of heritage forms, and it might be just a religious factor. It might be just an handicraft. It might be something else. But all these things are much sought after, and they are protected for the obvious reasons, not just for the economy, not just for the economy. It could be for the sake of inculcating the pride amongst us. For example, the entire country now, it seems to be trying its best to promote the Indian concept, that is Bharatiya concept. They are trying to say, look, you guys are not able to understand your past. This is time that you are begin understanding about your past, because we are not less to any other society in the world. We have come down quite a lot. Now we have to progress. So this is a way of actually inspiring the people, like promotion, explanation of the heritage, and so on and so forth. All these factors will lead to boosting of the spirit among the society members. Then what happens is they would take pride in what they're doing, and they may become more ethical, because after all, any society to flourish and to develop economically, you need good ethics, you need good discipline, you need to put it in a frank manner, you need good character. Not that we don't have a character, we have good character. But the fact is, we are taking, it seems, lots and lots of negative aspects from elsewhere. And these negative aspects seem to bring us down. And so it is leading to lots and lots of difficulties. So the efforts to promote intangible cultural heritage could empower so many people. For example, I'll give you an example of the UNESCO state level partnership with the government of West Bengal and NGO Bangla Natak, all right, had an outstanding impact on the livelihood of craft workers, drawing women, youth, and underprivileged communities to the sector in unprecedented numbers. And most importantly, the Arts for Life project, this particular project I'm referring to, has established a competitive handicraft sector in West Bengal by helping develop rural craft hubs, enhancing productivity, and building sustainable market linkages. And the monthly incomes of these craft persons, has suddenly taken a boost. And then, the emergence of new class of rural entrepreneurs, yeah, is a model of how economic returns from intangible heritage can be discussed here. See, I might be giving a wrong example of talking about Bengal now, because I have nothing to do with the politics, by the way. But the fact is, Bengal, Maharashtra, Rajasthan, South India, particularly Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, all these states, they are having very, very admirable heritage. And this heritage is a factor that could promote economic activity in a very significant manner in the future, like the examples I'm referring to just now to you. Yeah, this is just one or two I have come across, but they're having many more. But all this is coming through international interventions. Still, we have not made a move to promote our own heritage. We are not at having that clarity, and we are not at having that awareness to go about realizing and compiling data about our heritage structures, protecting them, ensuring their promotion, marketing them in a confident manner. This is not happening. So We are still having UNESCO, and it is as part of its global efforts. Yeah, it has targets for sustainable development. It has, how do you say, ambitions like protecting and safeguarding the world natural and cultural heritage and promoting sustainable tourism that creates job and promotes local culture and products. See, all this is okay. It is having such a thing. But what is happening, slowly, what I see is in our country, these World Heritage Sites, they are classified as World Heritage Sites based on certain criteria. Like surrounding it, in that area, you should not have, how do you say, polluting industries. And you should not have new constructions. Once it is acquiring the status of World Heritage Site, any new construction, any new development, you need to take the permission, or rather it is not allowed. It's very strict. And so this is becoming an obstacle for ambitious politicians who at their will give away the empty tracts of land to different voters groups. And so this, what they're doing is, by such illegal constructions and activities in the vicinity of the World Heritage Site or a heritage site, this would slowly lose its status. See, the status provides its importance, its recognition, and most importantly, its appeal for the visitors to come and visit. Now, if you allow it to, what you call, develop in a unplanned manner, then what's going to happen is that you may not have the World Heritage Site, which is the core attraction. And this is not just heritage attraction. I'm talking about things that are happening all over. For example, we come across in music, the classical music, whether it is Carnatic or Hindustani, which is been made available to us through centuries. And these origins of this music uh, goes back into very, very long periods. And then this has developed through lots and lots of hard work. And probably if you want to become proficient in this style of music, classical music, what happens is you have to practice and work hard for a very long time. And so most of the people nowadays, they seem to be pressed for time. And when they're pressed for time, they don't seem to have time for learning and becoming proficient in classical music. And when they do not do that, it's very difficult to have the same kind of, how do you say, appeal. Like, for example, a person who is very proficient in classical music, and if he sings the modern film songs and so forth, like Lata Mangeshkar, Ghantasala in Telugu, and in other languages to different people. See, these people have the background of classical music, and based upon that, they have they are singing the modern songs, and so they are really pleasing. And that sort of appeal may not happen if you don't learn the classical music, and if you learn directly the music and how to sing songs. Well, I don't know. It depends upon you. You may call me as a old timer. Probably, you may be right. Whatever it is, the development seems to indicate everything that is easy and simple as the first to be acquired. But if that happens, then heritage gets affected in a very adverse manner. This is as far as the negative aspects are concerned. But in the positive aspects, what we see is that the government and the people are going really all out now to have, for example, this conference or this workshop also is a step forward to make the people understand about the heritage and to make us propagate its importance. And so through this kind of workshop, seminar, what happens is the heritage concept gets understood, and people will have more and more interest, and slowly it may lead to good economic development. Besides, its social importance also will be realized, right? And you see, the listing of the heritage sites, resolutions, conventions, and warnings, discussions, all these increase attention to historical heritage. Most importantly, uh, the aspect of these sites or the practice of removing the sites from the list due to destruction, loss, or damage. It is a very, very serious problem which is happening due to lack of understanding and lack of peace and harmony in the society. It might be in Syria, it might be, for example, in Egypt, where lots of damage has taken place when there were political upheavals, and Iran, as you know, what kind of past it has had, but presently it seems to be passing through a very turbulent times, and so, and in Afghanistan, you are aware what kind of place this was, and fortunately or unfortunately, it was right in the middle of passage two or outside, and so in the subcontinent, it has faced a tremendous number of how do you say, wars and others. Places, people have become quite tough, no doubt about it, but the places are lost. Likewise, Kashmir and other places wherever you have this kind of political um, fluctuations, and most importantly, nowadays, which are located on the sea coast. It might be in Orissa, it might be in Andhra Pradesh, or it might be some other place where, um, due to the climate change or climatic factors, the erosion takes place, and slowly these places get damaged, and they become vulnerable to, how do we say, severe damage afterwards. And because of this, that we are having quite a lot of problem as to how we can go about conserving the heritage. So first and foremost factor, what they found was, first put all these things in museum. It's okay, but the same attraction aura is not there if you put these artifacts in a museum. It's something artificial about it. You have name boards, you have guides explain to you about it, but it doesn't belong to that place. It might be some other place. So, for example, I give you a place called Amravati in Andhra Pradesh. You have had a beautiful Buddhist stupa. For whatever is the reason, a long time ago, 200 years, 300 years, I don't remember correctly now, one contractor felt this stupa is a good thing if we remove all of it and use it in our foundation. So what that guy did was, he removed simply the entire stupa, which is made up of marble sculptures and so on and so forth, and then he tried to use it in the foundation. But luckily or unluckily, one British officer has come across that, and he prevented further damage to that. And but in the process, what he did was, he sent all these attractive pieces of sculpture to Britain. Even now, you can see in the British Museum, you see one gallery which is dedicated exclusively to Amravati. You would be surprised to know these are from Amravati, AP, basically. And like that, you would find many monuments, or not monuments, many artifacts that have been taken away from India, going to elsewhere. So this is another aspect. Heritage requires security. Security by the society in which it has been brought out, or it is there. So if we feel that we worship that particular temple, and we have lots of devotion, and our heritage is glorious, and so on and so forth, but we leave it to the invaders to plunder, like it was done in Somnath temple in Gujarat. Not once, 16, 17 times that guy has come. He has broken the temple several times. It has been reconstructed. Like that, you can go on talking about it. If in Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, the temples are surviving only because of our luck and because of their geographic location, because probably the invaders did not, could not come and damage in such a manner. Whatever it is, we know that most of the religious sites in India, they carry quite a lot of rituals. Even now, you know about it, whether it is the Padmanabh Swami temple or Tirupati temple and so on and so forth. They are having lots and lots of wealth, wealth that is donated by the, how do we say, the devotees and royalty and so on and so forth. But the fact is, you need the society to be able to think ahead and ensure its protection for a very long time. Otherwise, it would become vulnerable to attacks. These are political. But the next factor is that is the climate change. Another factor is it is the ravages of time. So all these things that we need to get before uh, making the heritage well protected, conserved. Conservation is protection is security. Conservation requires technique, expertise, yeah, and this requires scientific knowledge as to how you can go about protecting it without damaging it. Otherwise, in the process of reconstructing or doing anything like that, it will get damaged. And if it gets damaged, nothing like the original is lost. So therefore, the factor is there that heritage needs to be protected, it needs to be conserved, and afterwards tourism. But for such processes to take place, you need the society surrounding the heritage attractions to understand what they have right in their middle, how they should go about interpreting it, how they should go about respecting it, because without their respect, you can't expect the visitors to come and respect that, right? So all these places need to be protected, and they need to be protected not just through security, but through our own social understanding and our own taking pride of our heritage. So, in these factors that World Heritage that I can go on talking about, and I think probably I have spoken for a very long time. And I would like to understand from you, supposing if you have some queries or if you want to me to share on one particular aspect of heritage, please feel free and let me know so I can elaborate further for the next few minutes. Okay, Dr. Kumari?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. This is just a general discussion I have made about heritage and how we are going about with first examples and so forth. But anything in particular, if you all want me to speak or dwell upon, please do let me know.
Yeah, yeah. Sir, what do you suggest that in this 21st century, where science and technology is advancing to the core in one way, on one hand, and it is destroying, I'm sorry to use the word, it's destroying the original characteristics of the culture at many places. How do you say that we can balance both, the advancement of technology and as well as the preservation of heritage?
See, the factor is the erosion or damage to the heritage is happening in the name of development. Because you see, when you have seen 200 years ago what kind of development that was there, because of the less number of people, the development was limited to only certain sections of the area. So the structures may not have been damaged. But now real estate seems to be the biggest business that is happening. For example, the land everywhere within the city limits is much sought after, and buildings after buildings, structures after structures are getting constructed. Cities are expanding beyond belief. What you have seen 20 years ago of a particular place is now totally different. So in this process, what we call as development, there houses are being constructed and offices are being constructed and so on and so forth. what's happening is in the middle, the heritage structures are standing out like sore thumbs. What they're doing is they're just removing them. They're just removing them. So the factor is, unless it is not, government alone cannot protect and safeguard heritage. It is difficult because government comes and goes. Unless the person is very knowledgeable and very much interested personally in protection of heritage, that's not going to happen. It has to happen through society, humans, the people. They have to take pride. They have to understand, look, this has to survive. And real estate structure, real estate development cannot take place at the cost of heritage. These words should come from our mouths. Only then the government will take the initiative to see this real estate development is strictly regulated. Unless it is strictly regulated, what kind of conservation, what kind of technology we use for protecting the particular monument or a site or a art piece, it's very difficult. It's not how long will it do? 200 years, 300 years you will protect. Then afterwards, it will lead to damage. It will lead to erosion. No, any structure is vulnerable to damage. And that damage can be protected only through, how do you say, limiting a real estate development to that particular spot. And if you feel, look, human development is more important than heritage, conservation, protection, then there's nothing we can do. That has to take place. See, the heritage is there. It has to be retained. It has to be protected as long as we survive. Our background has to survive also. And that has to dawn upon us. And till that happens, places like most important sites and, small places, they're getting damaged. See, tell me, in South India, how many forts are conserved, protected? In Rajasthan, they're protected because they somehow have that attention to it, and they somehow have that interest, and so they're protecting them, and now they become places of tourist interest. But remember one thing, Rajasthan is able to protect heritage only because of the lack of industrialization, I feel. If there is lots of industrialization, then there's going to be a problem. How far they will go to protect their heritage, their legacy, we really don't know. Likewise, if it is Karnataka, if it is Tamil Nadu, if it is Andhra Pradesh, I don't know how we are going to protect that heritage. If that heritage happens to be a part of the city, then there is much more problem. Because this not just in India, it is happening in Britain also. In Britain also, they have places of birth of Shakespeare, and in a pub where he had one or two drinks with his friends. So that place they're protecting, but all surrounding it, it is slowly becoming unmanageable. So like that, if you talk about in Andhra Pradesh, the guys who are responsible for Carnatic music, where are their houses? Where are their this thing? We really have no idea. Very few of them are surviving because the locals have not taken care to protect and to conserve. It has to be protected, not just for the sake of today. Today, they may be nothing, but tomorrow they will be something. They will be something. They will bring glory to that area, to the society. So therefore, they need to be protected. They have that kind of, how do you say, intangible aspect, they cannot be termed, look, this is how they will lead to promotion, they will lead to development, and so on and so forth. No. They will definitely help your development, but in a very indirect manner.
So, but then on a small view, like, it is not only the people will not have much interest. They are only worried about their own economic interest. So I think government only should take initiative, because until and unless we force, people will not they're not worried about the posterity.
Government does through regulation. There are lots and lots of laws, regulation, but who needs to implement it? Supposing if on the road, if they say you should not go on the right side of the road, in India I'm talking about,
Yeah.
You keep going on the right side of the road. What is that government can do to stop and prevent it? They are actually in, for example, in my state of Andhra Pradesh and Hyderabad, what we can see is traffic is a major problem.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
don't understand why young people think it is loss of their face or prestige to abide by the laws. So what they do, they go three people on one motorcycle
Yeah.
and they drive when the light is showing red, or they take a U-turn with a screeching sound, and so they do catch them, they do punish them, but the fact is that is only a very little number of such breakers. The majority of the people are doing it, and government is unable to control because it's too many. It's too many population along with it. If there are so many problems, then it's difficult. We have to do it voluntarily. We need to have a code of conduct. For example, I'm a teacher. Now, as a teacher, if I go into the class and if I just blabber something and then give them the notes and then prepare them only for the sake of examination, then it's not good, isn't it? That's what is happening. So as a teacher, government doesn't give me a code of conduct. I need to have code of conduct. I need to be little bit ethical. I need to be a little bit honest. I can't go into the classroom and say, look, guys, please don't mind my smoking. Eh? Look, I'm not able to stay for 1.5 hours without a smoke. So I smoke. And then I tell the boys, please don't smoke. What kind of teaching is that? See, this is just one example I'm giving you that comes to my
Yeah.
mind. But like that, there are several things. Government is very small to handle such huge problems. People cooperation is a must. People have to get together. There are so many NGOs which are trying to protect intact and others, they are only for conserving and protection of heritage, no doubt about it. But not many people are joining. Not many people are joining.
Yes,
And
yes.
most importantly, not many people are taking an active role into it.
Very
It is
important.
definitely better than what it was 20 years ago. But still, it has a long way to go
Joint.
before it becomes a tool for protection or preservation or conservation. So government regulation is there, but to protect and to ensure its strict implementation, it
Yes.
requires the cooperation from the
Actually,
society
possibility
also.
to
So
join.
I feel a larger aspect of such implementation,
Okay,
the
okay.
responsibility lies with the people ourselves. Otherwise,
Yes,
heritage is difficult
yeah,
to
after
conserve
we manage,
over there.
okay, okay.
All right.
After your reaching the destination, maybe we will try.
Hello, I'm unable to hear. So that's my this thing to you at the end, at the conclusion stage. So if there are no more, well, I will hand the session back to Dr. Prabhu Kumari for the next
So,
part
as
of
you
the.
said, I think the responsibility should be on both the sides, both the government as well as the public.
Yeah,
So, even it is.
actually, you are fulfilling the responsibility by organizing such a workshop on heritage. So, see, there are around 10 to 15 people who have now discussed a little about heritage. I don't say in detail, but a little bit in detail we have discussed. And we will discuss this further with our colleagues, students, and so on and so forth. And in the next few meetings, we may even discuss few points that we have come across here. So like this, the idea spreads, and the brochures. And so you having World Heritage Week. We are having that, and we are declaring heritage cities. We are having creative cities. We are
Yeah.
having all this is meant for highlighting heritage and its
Awareness.
conservation and protection.
Yes.
So basically, but the thing is, it may not be going as fast as we would have desired it to be, but still the process is there. The
So,
process is
there is a
going
good
on.
start and it should go ahead.
Whether it takes place before all of them that get damaged, I don't know. I only hope these measures will improve to such an extent that they are capable of protecting what is left to us. Yeah, because all this damage is taking place in invasions, whether in our country or in another country,
Yeah.
political invasion. Even in Greece, also, I remember
Yeah.
they were occupied by Turkey. And when they were occupied by Turkey, they have lost lots and lots of monuments, lots of pieces. In Italy, also, oh my God, after the Romans, so many people have come. They have just literally damaged everything that they came across. So what is left is actually 1,000th of what would have been, should have been there. But still, it's worthwhile. Now you see in Karnataka, for example, if you go to Aipole, Badami, Patadakal, and if you go to Ajanta, Ellora, all these places, see, these are few, but there should have been many more, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you go to
Yeah.
Orissa, Sun Temple and all that, what Konarak temple that if you go, what is that you have pieces? Imagine if the main statue was there, if it was there, what you do, what temple you have there is actually dilapidated. Basically, it is ruined structure. And imagine if it was there intact, what it would have been,
Yeah.
how it would have pleased. Now, what we are saying is because of this technology, we are seeing the virtual photograph of it. Like this is how it would have been, or this is how it was probably. That's another factor, technology, by
Yeah.
which you can recreate virtually whatever was there before. Architecturally, also it will be correct.
Yeah.
So I think that's the future probably, and to reduce the footprint and to reduce the negative impacts in future, maybe they would have virtual tours. They may not have physical tours. So all these
Reduce
factors
pollution.
will come into picture, and I think we will see more of such things. Physical tours, we enjoyed, we went around, we saw places, all these things, good. But I don't think the future citizens may have that
Get
kind of
an
opportunity.
opportunity.
Now you see, when due to this pandemic, what you're doing, all I'm doing is literally I'm doing lectures on phone, on computer.
Yes.
I'm getting used to it nowadays, but
Yeah.
still,
Yeah.
that's what my sons, they work here from morning 9 to 5. They sit down in front of the computer. They don't move around. They don't go to the office. Maybe it's quite easy because it doesn't involve transport. It doesn't involve preparation and eating at home. All these things are there, no doubt about it. But still, mixing with the people, exchanging ideas, even though that also is not stopped over here.
Yeah.
Still, that is the drawback. Lots and lots of information can be exchanged if you're physically meeting people.
Yeah.
And heritage also, if you're going physically watching or observing it, it is really soothing. It's different altogether. The pleasure is different. I don't know. That's my feeling. Whatever.
Definitely, sir. Definitely. So,
I hope you have you're okay with my discussion, and now
so
you're welcome to take over.
yeah. So, any questions from the audience? Any questions from the audience? So, thank you very much, sir. There are no
Thank you.
words for me to express my gratitude to you, because if I express in words, it will be too small. So, I'm really grateful to you for honoring us by being a part of this program. Thank you very much, sir. So maybe once the corona and this pandemic problem gets over, we would like to meet you and hear to you in person. So hope we'll get an opportunity. And I break today's session for lunch. So the morning speaker, Dr. Parikshit Singh Manhas, sir, he sent a message. He's in the flight. He has just boarded the flight. So maybe in the afternoon session, we will get an opportunity to share, to hear to his ideas about culture and heritage for a few minutes. So I break the session for lunch, and let us meet at 1 o'clock. So
Thank you all.
thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much once again. Please do come, sir. Thank you. You all can break for the lunch and come back at 2 o'clock.